When someone asks you to describe an introvert, your thoughts might go to the most reserved and thoughtful person you know. Maybe you think of the friend who mostly avoids special attention in social engagements, or the sibling who prefers to occupy a quiet corner with a book, or the family dog. Being introverted has to do with how you gather energy. You might be introverted if you're energized by solo time and feel drained after prolonged social interactions. This isn't necessarily the same as shyness. But what if you're the one who prefers a quiet night at home to a crowded party? Maybe you feel exhausted and drained after interacting with anyone other than a close friend or two. If so, you might have started to wonder whether you are an introvert yourself.
Personality traits of an introvert. A number of factors help shape the unique characteristics that make you who you are. And these factors can also affect the ways introversion shows up in your personality. To put it another way, no two introverts are exactly alike. That said, you might recognize introversion in yourself by some of the following traits and behaviors. You need plenty of time for yourself. Do you consider periods of solitude essential for optimal health and well-being? Maybe you find the thought of a quiet night at home positively delightful, whether you plan to spend that time simply resting or enjoying a quiet hobby on your own. If time alone prompts feelings of peace and relief, not disappointment and stress, you're likely more introverted than extroverted. Too much socializing drains you. It's not true that introverts hate social interaction and avoid it entirely. All the same, you might find yourself needing more time to recharge between events than a more extroverted person. Hanging out with friends on Friday might max out your energy, leaving you craving solitude on Saturday to rest and recharge. You have a hard time with conflict. Everyday interactions can be draining enough on their own, but what about situations that involve the possibility of conflict? Some evidence suggests introverted people tend to have a greater sensitivity to negative evaluation and criticism. You might find it tough to share your thoughts when you believe others might disagree with you or disapprove of your opinion. As a result, you might find yourself avoiding conflict whenever possible. You work better on your own. The mere words, group project, might spark fear in anyone's heart, but if you find working in groups particularly loathsome, you could certainly be more of an introvert. Working at your own pace gives you time to reflect and consider your approach before focusing your energy on the task, without having to navigate group dynamics or tune out the chatter. Of course, this doesn't necessarily mean you have trouble getting along with others. You may just find it easier to concentrate when working alone. That goes for your hobbies too. Introverted people often choose solitary pastimes, like reading, crafting, gaming, or gardening. The spotlight doesn't tempt you. Maybe you don't mind working in smaller groups, but you always choose behind-the-scenes roles. That might mean you'd rather do the research and write up the report than present it, or you volunteer for tasks that keep you away from the crowd. Far from being the center of attention, you'd rather hover on the fringes where you escape notice. You prefer a close circle of friends. Many introverts have just a small circle of friends, but it's not because they can't make friends or dislike people. In fact, that high-quality relationships play a major role in happiness for introverts. If you're an introvert, you might simply prefer to have a few close intimate friendships rather than a large circle of casual acquaintances. After all, you need more time to yourself than an extroverted person might, so you probably have less time to spend connecting and catching up with a crowd. You get to know people on a deeper level. If you tend to keep to yourself, you might find it perfectly natural to listen and observe from the sidelines. Watching what goes on around you can give you more insight into others and offer clues to their personality and preferences. Expressing yourself is not your strong point. You might become a good listener instead, perhaps even develop a knack for picking up on body language and less obvious cues and emotions in someone's words, behavior, or tone of voice. The end result, you learn more about others, which can boost empathy and your ability to offer emotional support.
Do you zone out to get away? Do you catch yourself escaping from unpleasant or stressful situations by letting your mind wander or drift to something more relaxing? Anyone can zone out, but turning inward may offer introverts a way to leave situations that feel chaotic or uncomfortable. In short, it can serve as a survival mechanism of sorts. This tendency to get lost in your thoughts may leave others with the impression that you're shy, distracted, or disinterested. In reality, though it can help you cope in tense or overwhelming environments, from a loud holiday party to a long meeting with several short-tempered colleagues, you prefer writing over talking. Maybe the thought of small talk makes you shudder, but writing out your thoughts comes naturally, especially when you're dealing with complex or difficult emotions. Many introverts take time to think carefully before speaking, so you might have a hard time offering a quick opinion about anything. Writing, on the other hand, allows you to consider your position thoroughly and choose just the right words to express yourself with confidence and care. You feel emotions deeply. Some evidence suggests introverted people might experience emotions more intensely and have trouble managing those emotions. This greater sensitivity could help explain why many introverts develop depression. Myths about introverts. We've established that introversion isn't just another way to describe shyness, but plenty of other myths about introversion exist. A few common ones include: introverts don't like people. In reality, introverted people do benefit from close relationships with others. Just like most other humans, they typically just prefer to save their social energy for people who understand and support their needs. Introverts have social anxiety. Some introverted people could also have social anxiety, but that's thanks to a combination of personality traits, like conscientiousness and neuroticism, rather than introversion alone. Introverts are more imaginative and creative. Creativity stems from openness. Introverted people with high levels of openness might easily be more creative, but this won't apply to every introvert. Introverts just need to try harder to be social. If you're happy with yourself, as you are, and don't feel the need to change any of your social habits, draining your energy by trying to force yourself to interact with others when you need time alone will probably only leave you miserable and stressed. There are a lot of misconceptions about introverts, like that they're antisocial, unfriendly, shy, or lonely. But in many cases, being an introvert can actually be an asset. Introverts are people who get their energy from spending time alone. It's kind of like a battery they recharge, and then they can go out into the world and connect really beautifully with people. While we're all often flooded with messages that we need to speak up and stand out in order to be successful, introverts can actually achieve even more if they hone their natural strengths.
Here are some of the benefits of being an introvert. They're good listeners. Introverts are naturally adept when it comes to actively listening. They tend to be friends or colleagues you can call on when you're upset or you have good news to share. They are going to be able to listen and be with you in that. They think before they speak. Because introverts typically feel less comfortable speaking than they do listening, they choose their words wisely. They only speak when they have something to say. That being said, introverts may take a little too long to formulate their thoughts before sharing them, especially in fast-paced business settings. To combat that tendency, introverts should go into meetings prepared to speak first before there's time to talk themselves out of it. They're observant. In addition to their superior listening skills, introverts possess observation skills. They notice things others might not notice because they're talking and processing out loud. Although it may look like they're just sitting quietly during a meeting, introverts are actually soaking in the information that's being presented and thinking critically. The typical introvert also uses his or her observant nature to read the room. They're more likely to notice people's body language and facial expressions, which makes them better at interpersonal communication. Introverts are especially skilled at noticing introverted qualities in others. They can tell when a person is thinking, processing, and observing, and then give them the space to do so, which makes people feel much more comfortable. They allow time to really connect with people. They make quality friends. Since introverts can feel their energy being drained by being around other people as opposed to extroverts who gain energy from being with others, introverts choose their friends wisely. They would rather have a few close trusted friendships to invest their time and energy in. Introverts are pretty picky about who they bring into their lives, and if you do come into their inner circle, that means a lot. This quality causes introverts to be loyal, attentive, and committed friends. They make loving romantic partners. Introverts crave personal space to reflect and recharge, and they can sense when their partners need space too. Because they have this need for their own privacy, they give that to others as well. They won't be super clingy or high maintenance in relationships. At the end of a long day, they're there to listen and support their partner without feeling compelled to talk about themselves. Introverts also like to get to know someone before sharing intimate details with a prospective partner, and it can make them appear more appealing in the early stages of relationships. They're thoughtful networkers. Being in a large group where the goal is to meet, talk, and make a good first impression can be overwhelming for many, especially for introverts. But they can use their natural strengths to create meaningful connections. But the strength in networking is not necessarily in numbers. Introverts should focus on learning about people they meet even if they only connect with a handful of people. They're compassionate leaders. Introverts can make the best leaders when they channel their natural strengths. For starters, they don't feel the need to step into the spotlight and take all of the credit for group successes, rather they are likely to highlight the strengths of their teams. And since introverts process information more slowly and thoughtfully, introverted leaders tend to learn more about their subordinates. They have focused conversations with their team members in order to learn their skills, passions, and strengths. Once they gather all of this information, they can use what they've learned to help each team member be more efficient and happier at work.
The bottom line: introversion is simply part of your personality. It's not a flaw or anything you need to change or alter. There's nothing wrong with needing a lot of time alone, preferring your own company, or having just a few friends. What really matters is that you feel comfortable with your personality, and accept yourself as you are.